All right, well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the series of webinar trainings leading up to the Ohio Business Matchmaker. We are very, very happy to have you. This is our second webinar of the series, so definitely go to the Ohio Business Matchmaker website to see the full list of webinar trainings that we have until the Ohio Business Matchmaker, which will be on April 23rd and 24th at the Nutter Center in Dayton, Ohio. But to get us started, my name is Jill Nagy Reynolds. I'm with the SBA Columbus District Office. And I'm very excited to be a part of the Ohio Business Matchmaker team. I think it's our 17th year for this event. So it's the largest government to business matchmaking event that we have in the state. And we really try very hard to get all small businesses connected to federal, state, and local government agencies. And part of that effort is to have a series of trainings leading up to the event so that when you're at the event, you see some familiar faces. So this presentation is actually three-part. We're going to have a brief introduction with Joey Scott and the Apex Accelerator Office. We are also going to hear from O'Neill Boziel from the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, and then James Yagodich from the Ohio Procurement Services. So it's all about doing business with the state of Ohio in this webinar training. And hopefully, if you're able to come to the matchmaker, you will be able to meet them in person. I will also tell you that there's no such thing as a bad question. I do ask you to put them in the chat. However, I will be monitoring the chat throughout the presentations. Feel free to put it in there and I will ask the question of the presenter when I don't want to interrupt them like mid-sentence, but I'll find a good spot to ask the question. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Joey Scott. He's the Apex Accelerator statewide program manager.
And good afternoon, everyone. As you heard, I'm the statewide program manager for the Ohio Apex Accelerator, and we have offices all throughout Ohio. If you're not familiar with the Ohio Apex Accelerator, we provide assistance with all things government contracting, from starting out to helping you through SAM registration, Ohio buys, some of the basic things to more advanced things for understanding business certifications, finding contract opportunities. We have a bid match software that we can set you up with to essentially deliver opportunities to your inbox based on keyword search. So to help cut down on some of the research and searching on all the different websites. And then, once you've found an opportunity, we can assist you through the proposal process. We cannot write anything for you. We are not an agent of your company, but we can help you through the process, provide feedback and assistance and guidance so that your proposal is as competitive and responsive and responsible as possible. And once you've found some success, we're still there every step of the way to help you talk strategy, leverage those wins into future successes, and help you make other connections, whether it be with federal, state, local government agencies or prime contractors, teaming partners, what have you, and also helping you explore if R&D is your wheelhouse, helping you explore all the innovation programs. We also provide some awareness training on more complicated subjects such as defense cybersecurity regulations, foreign ownership, control, and influence, and quite a few other things. But the takeaway here is, if you're not familiar with your local Apex Accelerator, please get in touch, and I'm more than happy to connect you and introduce you with your local Apex Accelerator because we are your ally and resource in the world of government contracting. And we are more than willing to assist, and we're very pleased we have a client-first approach. And that's not just us, it's also making sure you are connected with other resource partners like Jill and the SBA and the speakers that you have here today, and other resource partners like the Small Business Development Center, Minority Business Assistance Center, and Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Any resource that is going to assist you, we want to make sure that you get the help that you need. So with that, Uh, Last thing I'll say is we're really excited to be partnering with the SBA, Small Business Development Center, Minority Business Assistance Centers, and all of our other partners and speakers, as part of this webinar series and the Ohio Business Matchmaker. And we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end as well. So, Jill, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just everybody, just know you're not in this alone. Just based on all the resources that Joey talked about, these are government-backed resources. They are offered at no cost to you. So just again, there's no such thing as a bad question. Just enter it into the chat and I will answer it as I'm able. I already know what the number one question is going to be. Are the slides going to be available? Yes, the slides will be available on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website in about a week, as will the recording of this webinar training. If you go to the Ohio, and I'll put it in the chat in just a minute. If you go to the Ohio Business Matchmaker website and click on webinars, starting next week, you're going to see the recording link and the presentations from the prior week. So you will definitely have access to the information that you hear today, but you will also have access to the presentations to go back and to find out additional information. So and please, if you haven't already, I think everyone has, like just make sure that your cameras are off and your microphones are on mute while the presenters are presenting. So I am going to introduce first O'Neill Boziel, and Bozel, from I will get this, from the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. If you will go ahead and introduce yourself and we will get started. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Jill. As Jill mentioned, my name is O'Neill Boziel. I am the Procurement Program Specialist with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. I work under the direction of Taylor Howard. He is our Procurement Administrator. Today, we'll talk a little bit about how to do business with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. So a couple of the topics that we'll cover today in our presentation is how to access and navigate the Ohio Facilities Construction website, how to find business opportunities and contracts through the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. Also, we'll talk about the type of contracts that we administrate, and then we'll also talk about EDGE participation. Just to backtrack and talk about a little bit of our history. In fiscal year 13, the State Architect's Office and Ohio School Facilities Commission merged to form the OFCC agency. So that's how we were created. OFCC guides capital construction projects for state agencies, for state-supported universities, community colleges, cultural improvements, and the Ohio Comprehensive Public K through 12 Construction and Renovation Program. So the fact that we collaborate with all those different state agencies and institutions, that accounts for about 85% of the public construction contracts in the state of Ohio that come through our agency. On this slide here, you'll see a couple of the projects that were completed through the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. So you can see that we have a wide variety of projects that we work on throughout the fiscal year. So just to touch upon the type of institutions and agencies that we work with, we do work with K through 12 schools. Just recently, we were able to help the Township of Perry award a architect contract for a new elementary school that they're going to build in their township. We also work with state agencies, for example, the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, Department of Transportation. So those are just some of the agencies that we collaborate with throughout the year. We also work with higher education institutions, for example, Columbus State. We also work with cultural facilities, and we also have grants for nonprofits and local governments. So who awards these construction contracts? And which is a great question. To answer that question, that depends on where the project funds originate from and the size of the project. So as you can see on this slide here, um, it just depends on where the funds come from, the size of the project, which determines on who would award a certain contract. So for example, in regards to state agency, if the funding comes from the state and the project is greater than 3 million, OFCC will go ahead and grant award that contract. So what are some of the firms or companies that we're looking to work with? We're looking to work with architectural engineering firms, construction management firms, consulting firms, design build firms, trade contractors, subcontractors, and material suppliers. And as you look at this list, don't be deterred. You don't have to be the lead on the contract to participate on an OFCC contract. There are instances where you can participate on a contract as a subcontractor. So, what are some of the factors that you should consider when trying to do business with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission? As you research projects, it's important to take note of the location, the project size, services needed on a particular project, timing, delivery model, and the owner of the project. So just to go back, in most cases, when we talk about location, if you're awarded a contract, the location of the project is very essential because as an owner of the contract, if we need your services or if there's an emergency, you want to be in close proximity or have the availability to be on site when needed. And the project size is you want to make sure that you have the sufficient personnel and resources so that you can have success on the project. Services needed. We're going to touch upon this a little bit going forward, where in an RFQ, we'll have a description of the need or a scope of services. That way you can research and make sure that the need aligns with your expertise. And timing. As we all know, timing is a very important thing, especially with construction contracts where many deadlines need to be met on time and is crucial to the success of a project. And also the owner of the project. As owners of the project and working with different multiple owners, it's always important to establish a great relationship so that the project can be successful and also you can have good rapport moving forward for future projects. So now we're going to take a look at the OFCC website. I am going to actually move to the our live website so that we can take a look around. Bear with me one moment here. Okay, here we go. Excellent. So to access our website, you would want to type in ofcc.ohio.gov, and that will bring you to our website. Now, to discover project opportunities, here at the top of the website, you'll see where it says project opportunities. You'll want to click there, and you'll have a couple different options that we're going to look at. Here is the main page for project opportunities. Here you'll see where we have our bids and RFQs, projects that will be coming soon, and other construction resources. So let's go ahead and take a look at bids and RFQs. We have different options when it comes to project types. We have what's called a qualifications-based selection, where
O'Neill, you're still on the original page. I'm not sure if you switch pages, but you're still on the ofcc.ohio.gov.
Okay, not a problem. Let's take a look here if we can get that. Let's see. And did that update?
Not yet.
Okay, let me try this. I'm going to stop sharing and I'll refresh it. Okay, so that's the presentation. Sorry about that. Just bear
That's
with me
okay.
1 minute. And let's pull it up here. Okay. And are you able to see the website by any chance? Okay, I know what to do now. There we go. Okay, great. So are you able to see where it says
Yes.
bids and
Yep, you're good.
RFQs?
Yep.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Jill. Great. So let me just go back a little bit here. So we will go back to project opportunities. This is where you'll be able to find different opportunities in regards to uh, bids and RFQs, projects that we have coming soon, and construction resources. So let's take a look at the bids and RFQs. In regards to RFQs, we have different types of RFQs. We have an RFQ that's called qualifications-based selection, where it's mainly based on your expertise. Are you qualified as an architect engineer, for example, construction manager? So we would just be looking for that specific expertise. We also have what's called the best value selection RFQ, where we would select on price, qualification, and performance. And then we have the construction bids, where that is awarded to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. Moving forward, we have a coming soon section. This is really important as new firms or firms that are looking to do business with the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, because you can uh, basically prepare yourself for projects that will become available. That way, you can form your strategy so that you can be prepared for when the opportunity comes to submit a proposal. So here in the coming soon section, you'll be able to see the project name, project number, the owner of the project, and the estimated budget. Now, moving forward, you can also take a look at bids that are currently available. To do that, for example, we'll look at a QBS, bids that are available. Once you come to this page, you'll see the list of bids that are available, and you can click on the project number, and that will open up the RFQ. On the RFQ, you'll be able to see the name of the project, the location of the project, who the owner of the project is, and let me make that a little bit bigger, and also the deadline at which you have to submit the proposal. Also, you'll notice we'll have a project description and the scope of services. These are very important for your firm to review so that you can see if you would be a good fit for the opportunity. So now I'm going to pivot back to my presentation.
O'Neill would like pre-bid meeting or because would that type of information be listed in here?
That is
Okay.
that is correct, and I am going to review that as well.
Thank you.
So yes, I do have a slide in regards to pre-bid meetings, so that will be coming on later on in the presentation. So now let's talk about EDGE. What is EDGE? EDGE is abbreviation for Encouraging Diversity, Growth, and Equity. It is a state program designed to assist small, minority-owned, and socially or economically disadvantaged businesses in obtaining government contracts. To become an EDGE certified business, you can also access the Department of Development's website, where you can find more information in regards to EDGE. And if you do fit the criteria, you can even register to become an EDGE certified business. As you'll notice when you review RFQ packets, in each contract, here at OFCC, we do set aside at least 5% EDGE goal for EDGE participation. and which is very important and really a great opportunity for your firm to either, if you're not Edge certified, to collaborate with Edge certified companies. And also, when we go to score or review proposals, the higher your Edge percentage, the higher score you will receive in regards to Edge points. And as Jill mentioned, pre-bid meetings. Um, in this example here, you'll notice we'll have there's a pre-bid meeting for this project where it'll give the time, the date, and the location. The reason why this is important is this gives your firm a chance to visit the site to get a better understanding of the need. And also, you would have the opportunity to meet other companies or contractors to possibly network and collaborate on that same project. If you're not an EDGE certified company, you have the opportunity to also access the Department of Development website. On that website, there's a directory where you can locate and collaborate with EDGE certified businesses. And once you have a business that you would like to collaborate with, you would fill out this intent to contract with EDGE firm. And that could be included in your proposal. And you would also include your EDGE participation percentage of the project. And that would also help you with EDGE participation points in your proposal. If you were to have any other questions or if you just want to introduce yourself to us, please see my email here. You can also reach out to my boss, Taylor, and we look forward to hearing from you. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's always amazing to see how much the OFCC purchases. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. Hopefully, we have some construction or construction related contractors with us here today. If we don't, that's okay too. The reason why I brought up the pre-bid meeting is because sometimes when you look at like the bids and the size and scope of the work, you can, as a small business, you might think, oh, there's no way that I could do this. So don't despair, however. Like if you go to the pre-bid meeting, there's opportunities for subcontracting, and really that's a great way to get started in government contracting. You'll see that as a theme throughout these webinars is partnering, subcontracting, seeing what you can do to still participate in a project, even if it's larger. So that's really the journey of a lot of businesses and government contracting is partnering with another business or with subcontracting. So I appreciate your presentation today, O'Neill. I don't see any questions yet. Are you able to hang on a little bit, or do you have to go?
Oh, I'm here. I'm here. I'll
Okay,
stick around.
cool. Okay, we do have a question. So Judith would like to know, as a cleaning services company, can I be a part of any project?
That isn't that's a good question. So there are many moving parts to a contract. You could, I feel like that would be an opportunity as a subcontractor, if there's a lead firm that has a need for to keep the job site clean. If that's your line of business, I do see that as an opportunity for you to connect with a lead firm. That's why, as Jill mentioned, we do encourage you to attend those pre-bid meetings. That way you can get a better understanding of the need, the flow of the project, even the timeline of the project to see if it aligns with your timeline as well, so that you can collaborate with multiple firms on that project.
Yeah, I agree. I would say the short answer is it depends. Like, what type of cleaning service do you have? I mean, do you do construction cleanup? And if you do, then like what O'Neill just mentioned, absolutely, like go to the pre-bid meetings. And not just that, just start going to small business networking events. You just never know where a fit will be. And thank you, Joey. Joey just posted in the chat, Tracy, that the recording will be shared on the Ohio Business Matchmaker website, and there's a link to the Matchmaker website there. Okay, very good. I appreciate your time, O'Neill, and I look forward to meeting you in April. We will go ahead then and switch gears to James Yagodich with the uh, Ohio Procurement Services. I can't ever get that department correct, and I am so sorry, James. If you can go ahead and unmute your line, and it looks like you're starting to share your screen. There you go. Thank you. I will go ahead and turn it over to you. I don't see any further questions right now.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is James Yagodich. I'm part of the Ohio Department of Administrative Services. Within that, we are the Office of Procurement Services, where we do outreach, create statewide contracts, managing multiple purchases across the state. I'm going to talk about kind of how to do business with the state, some of the benefits that we see that maybe help you participate and maybe um, glean some of those opportunities that exist and that are out there. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the camera if you guys don't mind. I talk with my hands and I may be distracting on that regard, but um, questions, please feel free to ask them. And I'm just listening about the janitorial one. To the point, is it construction more, or is it more post janitorial cleaning opportunities? I actually talk a little bit about some of that, and it's kind of an example we use. So hopefully that answers. It'll be able to help answer some of those questions. All right. So again, how to do business with the state of Ohio. Make sure my button works. Okay, there it goes. Again, James Yagodich here, part of the Training Academy team where we do outreach, trying to make things more simpler for you to understand so that way you can take better opportunities when those do come along. I think most of us feel like dealing with the state, dealing with a governmental agency, it is this, what the image shows. It's more of a maze. I'm not sure which way to go, left or right. I'm not sure. I don't know. I keep failing because I keep going the wrong way. But what I'm hoping today is to be able to take some of that information and put it more in a straighter line. Maybe some curves there, but having some key milestones that help you know that you're checking off the right things to make progress towards the end. So first off, what does the state buy? Maybe that's a question someone has starting off wanting to become a supplier for the state or a government agency. But here at the state of Ohio, we purchase about anything and everything. If you can think of what you need to run your business, we're purchasing that. We're purchasing that across 100 plus boards, commissions, agencies out there needing supplies to run daily operations. We also purchase computer IT, fleet vehicles, clothing, medication, fruit, personal services, and the list goes on and on. We spend approximately $5 billion on purchases on a wide variety of supplies and services required just for those daily operations. But within that, during the fiscal year, which runs from July 1st to the following June 30th, state agencies spend approximately $1.5 billion on DAS contracts. So that is really where we're going to talk about what the opportunities lay for getting a piece of that pie, that 1.5. But there's some information that I definitely have to share with you to have you understand kind of where things are at and how things need to happen for us to be able to purchase so that you know where you come into the picture. And a lot of times you look at a process and there are some hurdles. They always talk about hoops, right? You have to jump through this hoop, you have to jump through that hoop. We, as state employees, when we have to purchase something, we have to go through those hurdles ourselves. So to kind of dismay some of those myths out there, um, all state agencies are required by law to purchase from requisite procurement programs first, if the product or service is available. And some of those state agency requisite programs consist of the Ohio Penal Industries. It's an inmate work program. through the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction, provide items such as furniture, janitorial products, etc. So if there's a product there or a service we're looking for, we have to go to them. We have to purchase through them, as well as the Community Rehabilitation Program, otherwise known as CRP. It's another legal requirement for state agencies, as well as the political subdivisions around the state. This program allows for nonprofit organizations that employ adults with disabilities the opportunity to have contracts with the state. CRP suppliers offer such items as writing utensils, latex gloves, janitorial, landscaping services, and so on. Another one is the opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities. This is a state of Ohio agency that partners with Ohioans with disabilities to achieve quality employment and independence. This office works with partners in business, education, and nonprofit organizations to facilitate customized employment plans for Ohioans with disabilities, as well as help Ohio companies recruit and retain employees with disabilities. Some additional requisite program information that we have a state printing and mail services, where this is a full service print shop, providing print, mailing, and fulfillment services. So if there's printing opportunities, we have to go through those. But in addition, there will be additional opportunities outside of that, maybe they can't meet. But we'll talk more about where that comes along. And so on, going down the list, we have the Ohio Pharmacy
James,
Services.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, are you on the purchasing requirements slide?
yes, I am.
Okay, okay. All right, just wanted to double check that.
Oh,
Thank you.
sorry, there's just a little bit of information here on some of a couple of these bullets here, so I just want to make sure I cover them
Gotcha.
clearly. So, so the requisite programs we were required to purchase from them first, if, like I said, if they're available. Now, if they're not available, we go to the next hurdle, and that is to see if we have any DAS established contracts. Those are our current state contracts that are available for products, supplies, and services. Now, some of these contracts are mandatory that we have to use, and some are optional. Just depends upon what we're looking for. And then third, kind of the third hurdle is when all the current contract options, whether we've checked with the requisite program, whether we have checked with all the state contracts that exist, mandatory and non-mandatory, then we can create a new contract. But it has to be done by competitive selection. When I say competitive selection, these are the three main categories that our selections fall into. One is the invitation to bid, where we have very clear specifications, where the lowest responsive and responsible bid wins the award. And it's a rather quick process because the purpose of an ITB, as we refer to it, is having those clear specifications, very to the point, no room for judgment, no room for variations. It's just what we want. A good example we've used in the past is the Department of Natural Resources does a youth fishing program, and they need 5,000 fishing poles. And they have a very specific expectation what the fishing pole needs to be, a length, a style, and there's nothing else. There's no other variation that needs to be there. So it's rather clear. It's easy to provide that. So in that bidding process, when the bidders, suppliers provide their bids, the lowest price with the most responsive approach wins that award. So it's a rather quick process for the state to purchase those types of goods. The second one is the request for proposal. Now, these specifications are not clearly defined, and they're intended to be that way. The purpose of that is to drive what we may not know we want. And a good example of that is a software program. Maybe let's say accounting services. We need an accounting tool or a timekeeping tool that needs to be able to meet our needs, but we're not sure what version, what brand, just like purchasing a car. We just need a car, but we don't know if we need a four-door car or a two-door or a minivan. Based upon our needs and what our environment is, that kind of gives room for the request for proposal to have bids come from many different directions, many different ideas for us to determine the value of those. But those responses are scored. We score on the actual solution, and we score on the price. So 2 different scores, and the state then takes the best value of the solution that the state needs to be able to purchase that. Now, the third one is the reverse auction, but this is a commodity sensitive type of competitive selection process where we pre-qualify suppliers. We're looking for the lowest and responsible bid, and kind of think about an actual auction. The price goes up. People are driving the price up and up and up until someone wins. And as when you think of a reverse auction, it's just the opposite. People drive the price down to the lowest point where until the lowest price wins that particular competitive selection process. So where we are in the picture, if you think about, we're jumping through the hurdles. The state has determined a need for a purchase. They've gone and exhausted the look through the requisite programs. They've checked all the catalogs. They've checked all the contracts. Nothing meets their needs. So we're going to create a contract in one of those competitive natures. But before we do that, I'm going to talk about where you, the supplier, have an opportunity to start your process to meet at the finish line with us. And that first step is establishing an OHID for Ohio Buys Access. And creating an OHID, some important things to take away. Each person that will be accessing our Ohio Buys platform, and I'll talk a little bit about that here in just a second, but our Ohio Buys platform is where you're going to go look to find solicitations, opportunities that you and your business are interested in. But each person who's going to have an active part in searching and replying to bids will need to have their OHID created individually, each person. And then we're going to talk about contacts within that, and then assigning roles within the profile of a company, associating all it together. But suppliers who are currently receiving payment from the state for goods and services provided, you don't need to re-register for this. You just need to add the app within the App Store in your OHID platform. And things we'll talk about today, I've got a list of resources where you can get the documents, where you can get the resources for job aids, learner guides, additional training opportunities to kind of have a live Q&A into specific topics within that supplier process. But it's important to create that OHID, to have that, so that way each person within the company that's working within the platform can have access and not be restricted. So, as I mentioned, Ohio Buys. Ohio Buys is our electronic e-procurement platform. This is where we house all of our, like I said, contracts, solicitations that are currently available for you to bid on, for whether it's MBE, whether it's a public notice, whether it's a quick quote purchase, or we're looking for a quick little type of purchase, not necessarily a bigger purchase like an RFP. That this platform is going to be where you will come to search for those activities. As we just mentioned, through the OFCC, we're working with them to partner with them to get them into the application, so we can have one source of locating opportunities within the state for solicitation opportunities. And what we're going to talk about today is accessing Ohio Buys. You do not need to be registered. You do not need to have a certain password to log into the public page, but to get into the company profile, to respond to bids here, as it mentions, this is that point of entry, the Ohio Buys login page. So once you've got the OHID, you can create that. You can come in here, log in, create your company profile, and then start building out your contacts for your team and potential other offices that you have. So as I mentioned, adding contacts. And it's an important process of building your profile, of making sure you have the basic company details. Contacts are associated to certain roles within Ohio Buys, whether that's someone who receives bids, maybe someone's an admin that just oversees everything, maybe someone's a part of the revenue share program. Perhaps those are additional roles. People could have multiple roles, but you'll have to decide who gets roles and who doesn't get roles to be able to do the functions that you want. Um, another another thing is that you can identify the counties that you would like to serve. We do suggest that if you're looking to do business, maybe you do all 88 counties. Maybe that way you can have opportunities that are all about the state. Or maybe you're not quite there. Maybe your product or service is a local thing and you only want to do the surrounding counties that you're in. And that's fine. You get to choose that. Um, one of the other things is the commodity codes. Notifications for all our bid opportunities are based on commodity codes. So if you identify what goods and services that you provide, you can actually associate those commodity codes to your profile. So automatic notifications will come from our system whenever there is a solicitation that matches that meets that category. So it's very important. I believe we only require one, but the more products and services that you provide, the better, because it gives you more opportunity to see what's coming instead of having to go look for them. And as we mentioned, adding contacts, there may be businesses that are large that have multiple locations and multiple people in different spots across the state, maybe interstate locations that are doing business, the same business. Maybe it's a warehouse or a manufacturing location. But it's important to make sure you add the contact to your head office location and associating those organizations, making sure you're structuring those people in those places, because when the communications are coming out, we want to make sure that they get those appropriate um, notices within the Ohio Buys platform. And you can additionally manage your locations within the Ohio Pays platform. I know it's similar to Ohio Buys, but that's just another avenue if you're currently a supplier and you've got your supplier account built, you can manage those locations within that as well. So as I mentioned, commodity codes, it's important to identify these because they help us notify you of opportunities. The United Nations Standard Products and Services Code is what we currently use at the state of Ohio. There are other commodity codes that are out there that other businesses use, like the NASIC codes, where it's a similar code but just a different brand. But those are the ones we use. Provided the link here. And the idea of the link is just to kind of go to the UNSPSC, kind of get an idea of how it's structured. They used to have a search on their page, but now if you can see in the slide, when you click here to download, they have a 5-level hierarchical classification code set, and that's just the commodity code. That's just what that is. That code set provides you an idea whether you provide clothing or maybe just socks, or maybe you provide shoes or boots or what have you. Just like you're able to break that down and get notified on what specific items you have. So once you come into Ohio Buys and you know what commodity code you're looking for, you can search, but we like to have people, just become familiar with what's available when you're doing the commodity selector. You can select one, you can select all. As you see in the list here, as it branches out, maybe that you just provide novelty paper. Maybe that's just your party store that has novelty paper goods. You could put the 14111-600 number down, or you could just put, maybe you do paper materials or paper products. You can take that up a notch. This gives you a better way to narrow what particular opportunities are coming your way, or if you're looking just to maybe even see what's out there to what maybe grow the business. Like if maybe we offered more types of paper materials or paper products, maybe it's an opportunity we can expand. But Identifying your particular goods and services is important by selecting these commodities, because again, that's how we're going to give you those notifications for those upcoming solicitations. Now, as I mentioned, there are two ways to view a solicitation. Automatically getting the invite. Once you've created that commodity code and you've associated that to your profile, you get that notification in an email, and there'll be a link in there. You can click on it and go right to Ohio Buys and look at what the solicitation is. Or kind of the old-fashioned way, the public solicitations page, that's just the public page. Anyone in the World Wide Web can go out there and click on our Ohio Buys platform and look at the current opportunities, but they don't get notified of those. So making sure you select those commodity codes so that you can get proper notifications. So the public, the World Wide Web, anybody can go out there and look, as we're looking here, to look at the public solicitations. Our main homepage also has public contracts. If you're looking to do research on what the most recent price was for widgets that the state bought for what you provide, you can look at those price points to kind of give you an idea. You can kind of see when the contract expires and maybe to prepare for another opportunity. Public records requests are available as well. If you're interested in any expired contract, you can request to get information regarding those previous solicitations. You just have to fill out a request, and then that'll go through our public records request process, and you'll be able to get that information to help you with future solicitations. But we're going to click on the public solicitations and kind of talk through what Ohio Buys gives you. It displays all of your solicitations, whether they're private, whether they're MBE set aside, whether they are the various types of competitive selection, whether it's a reverse auction or an RFP, maybe it's an ITB, maybe it's a quick quote. This breaks it down so then you can start searching. You can use keywords to search. Again, this is just the public entrance, so just kind of everything's at your fingertips. You can maybe pick a specific agency that you're aware of that has an opportunity. You can do by search dates and so forth. The search functionality is rather robust, so it can really narrow down and maybe even expand what you're searching for. But within each solicitation, there's detailed information based on that opportunity, such as the begin date when it opens, the end date when it actually closes. There's a summary, kind of explains what exactly they're looking for, what needs to happen. There's process information. We do provide support information as well as the inquiry period of time where you can ask questions to a public audience from the state, and we share all information with everybody. So we're making sure that we're getting as many qualifying responses back on those bids so we can not create an unfair advantage for anyone, as well as just contact information regarding this. Some additional information that may be included. We're going to have the terms and conditions of that specific contract. We may have contract documentation included. We may have the bidder certification form. We may have additional instructions to bidders. It really depends on the type of solicitation and what the agency is looking for and may need to have. I think we talked about a few minutes ago, there was a mention of a site visit. This would be where, when on the summary page, is where you may see there's a site visit, must be present to participate in the next in the bidding process. So it'll be very clear, and the instructions will be there. But there's an opportunity to ask questions as well. So sending inquiries through Ohio Buys allows you the ability to ask questions and have correspondence with state agencies based upon that actual solicitation that's posted. You can create new ones. You can review old ones. Maybe someone has asked a question you've already asked, or you're not sure if you want to ask or how to ask it. It gives you an ability to look at those and then maybe ask your own question or have a question answered based upon previous conversations. So good example of an inquiry is someone saying, will the lottery please provide the location of the site visits that will occur from June 15th to July 15th? And on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see that um, how they're going to be arranged. You're going to have additional question and answers. So this is a great opportunity to really help you drive down how to respond to the solicitation, maybe getting clarifying information that makes a determination whether or not you want to continue on with um, that solicitation. So you made a decision, you want to keep moving forward to respond to the solicitation. A few steps have to be taken before you do. There's a terms and conditions acceptance. You have to be able to provide responses to questionnaire and item tabs. That's just where you go and place your product and services and your quotes for those particular items. This is where you can actually add additional colleagues. I mentioned contacts earlier. Maybe there's someone else that you need assistance with to be able to respond to the solicitation. You can add them at this point. Once those responses have been completed, you'll be able to see a flag so you know that it's there, because it's always important to make sure that you're completing the response process because you want to make sure that your bid was received. So again, just kind of like the general screen, what it looks like, you'll see on the left-hand side, the overview, some history, setup inquiries. As it looks at that, managing my team, that's where you can add additional colleagues. But the important steps for responding again are agreeing to the terms and condition, responding to the tabs in the item grids, attach any requested information because a large majority of the time when we talk about responsive and responsible bidders is that when we ask for a particular document, you supplied it. If you're not supplying it or forget to, that's kind of a strike against you because we need those documents. And once the bid has closed, there can't be an additional documentation added to that. So making sure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted are very important. And we'll talk about submitting your proposal on time. Within each solicitation, it has an end date, and it's important to make sure you look at that end date because it may be a Friday at 5 o'clock. Maybe it's a Friday at noon. Maybe it's a Friday at midnight. Making sure that you take a good look at that and make sure you're responding to be able to submit those proposals on time and get in before the window closes for those. Now, as you're going through the process, there may be an amendment. Someone may have asked a question that makes us have to go back and add additional information, amend the actual solicitation. You're going to have to re-respond to that, just because making sure that you're aware of that and you're responding to the new information that's provided in that. Now, this is where you can actually not make a decision, say, I think we're going to abstain from this opportunity, maybe get the next one. So the system provides you with that opportunity as well. But all response withdrawals need to occur prior to the bid due date, and that's the ending date. So it has to be done before that date. So just keep that in mind in your decision process. And once all the bids are collected, once everybody's submitted those that wants to participate, there's an evaluation process. We make a determine responsive and responsible. We go through that process there's no communication once we start that evaluation process. Once the process is done, winners will be communicated based upon the style of the award. For example, the invitation to bid, that was kind of like our fishing poles. Whoever put in the lowest bid, who submitted all the documentation that was required, we will then award a contract and post it to the Ohio Ohio Buys public portal, so you can we'll cut you a PO, and that process will in itself be wrapped up. Now, the request for proposals, they're evaluated, as I mentioned, they're scored, and they have to be for the best value of the state. Now, one might ask, what's the best value? It just depends on what the particular options are. Sometimes the add-ons may be too much for a particular purchase for, let's say, a software. Maybe the state doesn't need all the extra stuff. Maybe they spend a little bit of money here to have a better product there in the end versus buying a cheap product and having to add on. And in the end, it becomes more than the actual higher bid. So the state evaluates all that information based upon scoring to make that decision. And once that decision's made, the parties will be notified, and then the next step of implementing that service of that software will begin. So between those two types of awards, you'll be looking at a couple of different styles, but in the end, a purchase order will be provided for those. So just a quick recap. I've gone through quite a bit, but just highlighting how the state of Ohio has to purchase and do those hurdles. We have to check our requisite programs. We have to make sure that nothing's currently provided by a state agency. 2, then we have to look at the current contracts and make sure that there isn't already a contract for that's already been negotiated and competed. And once all that has been exhausted, then we can create that new contract opportunity. But making sure that you submit your bids on time, making sure that you reply with all the necessary documents, and if you meet all of that responsiveness, if you're able to provide the lowest bid, that's where your opportunity begins with doing business with the state. Now, I've got some resources for those who may be familiar with procureohio.gov, or maybe you're not. Our procureohio.gov homepage has an actual page of bidder and supplier information that's specific to your needs and kind of your introduction to Ohio Buys. We can step through extra information on selling to the state, kind of again what I talked about, how the state buys, how to use Ohio Buys, getting information about the current public catalogs that exist, submitting a response, additional Ohio Buys training that's available outside of this kind of informational overview. And within that program area, we have additional resources to the public solicitations link, the Department of Development mentioned earlier. If you're looking to become MBE qualified, submitting documentation for veteran-owned businesses, our minority business development team is information's there. If you're looking to see what the state buys in particular categories and agencies, the Ohio Interactive Budget is a great resource to kind of do some investigative tasks. Our Ohio political subdivisions are another great resource. There are 88 counties. There's about 3,000 entities from K through 12, public libraries, firehouses, local townships, county offices, etc., that opportunities exist to reach out to them. They're on our website. There's a list of contact information if you're looking maybe in your local area, in your county. You know that here in Columbus, we are in Franklin County, maybe the surrounding counties, maybe there's some good opportunities to sell your products or your services, and you can reach directly to them via that list that's available through that link. And more information about our community rehabilitation program as well as this general portal information for Ohio Pays, Ohio Buys, as well as Ohio Department of Transportation if you're looking to do partner with them on opportunities and see what they have available. And state and federal surplus services are a great resource as well for you to lean on. And this being the week of March 3rd, we do have a webinar series that kind of takes in to the next deeper dive into Ohio buys, where we talk about accessing and navigating Ohio buys from a point of a view of a new user. There's a lot more functionality I didn't go over today. Just wanted to highlight some of those. But this Friday we have a webinar from 10 to 11:15. It's about 75-minute webinar that really covers a lot of great information. It's live. Q&A is totally encouraged. It's that type of environment. And then the following Friday, we have a webinar regarding responding to the Ohio buys opportunities. We get into more of the specifics of those documents. We talk about making sure how to use the questionnaire and the grid tabs and make sure you're populating all the information and being able to be have an opportunity with those. And then if you're a current supplier, or maybe you may be interested, but the revenue share reporting is for those suppliers who are currently working with the state on contracts that are part of a revenue share program. May not be applicable, but it's definitely information for those current suppliers. And then we repeat this series every month. So if you can't make it this month, we do have things going on through April, May, June, and every month through the year. So there's definitely an opportunity there if you're looking to take that. But as well as we do have a contact center that you can reach out to if you need more information or more details about a specific task within the Ohio buys process, or even if you're trying to register as a supplier and you need Ohio pays information as a payee. The obm.contact center at obm.ohio.gov is a great resource as well, and they do have a phone number that you can call them directly. Someone will work with you to capture information, be able to start moving that forward to get you the necessary resolution so that you can become registered or update your supplier account, or even talk to someone on my team about Ohio buys and submitting that actual bid, or maybe adding a contact or getting the right role assigned to those contacts with your organization. So I think that wraps it up for that.
All right. Well, there are a couple of questions, James. So, if you look in the chat, like at 129, like Christopher, I can't, was asking about an active contract he's interested in bidding on through Ohio Buys. But then he also asked, can you explain the difference between current end data and max end date? So,
Okay.
I don't know if you wanted to take a look at it or if that's better for him to call you so you could walk through it with him outside
Yeah.
of a webinar.
I'll talk big picture though. The contract information, when there's an actual date for it to end, there's an actual end date. Like that's the last day you can send a bid for. So if it's March 5th at 2 o'clock, that was the end time. You had to have made sure everything was sent in before 2 o'clock. Barring any technical issues, we're not responsible for internet outages and things of that nature, Wi-Fi problems. So I always tell people to make sure they're looking ahead. Again, I mentioned, look at that date and just make sure you know when it's going to end, so you have that. The max date, I have to look at that exact what screen is. I can't recall that right off the top of my head. But yeah, Christopher, we can talk more about that. But typically, if there's a specific contract, let's say it ended, and it was for a specific service, there may be a determination that we don't need to rebid this contract. It just doesn't need to exist. Maybe there's another need for something. There's a couple of different variables within the procurement process that could be explaining that when it's going to be up, or whether or not it'll ever be a solicitation again. So I'll put my contact information in the chat if for a follow-up.
Very good.
And
Another, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to read. I think the next one: does the state have set
Right.
asides for service disabled businesses, or would that be included in MBE? Service disabled businesses. I guess that's kind of, I think anything that's a minority business enterprise, if that, I would reach out to the minority business development division with, um, to ask that question, to kind of how that falls underneath there. I don't know. I can't really speak for how they're the ones that oversee that program, and whether or not
I can
that.
speak to like the MBE program, that's Minority Business Enterprise, and the Service Disabled Veteran Owned would not fall under that. And now the EDGE program, which is encouraging diversity, growth, and equity, you have to be socially and economically disadvantaged for that. Could be that your EDGE uh, um, qualification, if you had a service disability related to your veteran status, you could qualify for EDGE that way.
Yeah. But the veteran-owned businesses, I guess you go through the minority business division within development, and there is a certification for that. You can talk with them, and they could give some more information about that, Scott.
And thank you, Joey. You just put in, we do have a March 19th webinar just on certification. So the Minority Business Assistance Center within the state of Ohio is going to be presenting on state of Ohio certifications, and then the SBA is going to be presenting on the federal certifications.
Gotcha. And another question is like, um, will this include library activity contracts? If you're asking about specific library for contracts, perhaps, I'm not sure. Maybe if you could clarify that.
I'm thinking maybe she's asking, what does the state of Ohio buy supplies and services for libraries?
Um, that's kind of that falls into the political subdivision. That's where they can use our state contracts to buy goods and services that they're a part of that. But to my understanding, we don't buy for them unless it's like the state library. I know that might be the only exclusion, but even then, I'd have to look into that. But your typical libraries that exist throughout the state of Ohio, we're not purchasing for them. They can use our contracts to purchase.
Huh, that's a really good question. Maybe that, and I don't know, like, do the individual libraries have the ability to buy their own goods and services? That's a good question. Or do they have to purchase from the state of Ohio, or do they have some independence? Uh, that's a good question. Okay, computers, loan, laptops. Uh, just like
Yeah.
James said, it sounds like they have the ability to buy off of like Ohio or through Ohio buys, but they may not have to do it.
Yeah, it just depends. They're not required by law to they're required by law to use the community rehabilitation program contracts, those goods and services, but they're not required to use the state contracts. They participate, they volunteer to be a part of our program where they can utilize our contracts for some more. It's more of kind of, we do all the footwork to create the contracts, so there's less administrative costs for them, but they're part of that process. So we do have IT contracts that they can use, but if they want to purchase other things, they're able to purchase those without the state being involved. So if you're interested in reaching out to your local library, like I said, if you on our Ohio, trying to think of the actual, make it my,
Well, I know that the metropolitan libraries
yeah,
might have a procurement site too.
yeah.
I'm just, yeah, go ahead.
I would say the Ohio political subdivisions, you can sort by libraries, you can sort there, and you can look at those opportunities of those political subdivisions that are not part of state purchasing. They're able to um, use our contracts, but you can reach out to them to market directly to them if you're interested.
Judith is asking, where can I access the March 19th webinar? If you go to the ohiobusinessmatchmaker.com website, and I'm putting it in the chat, like you can just click on webinars. There's a tab at the top, like there's various tabs on the home screen. It lists all the webinars there. You can register for all of them if you wanted to, or one of them. Doesn't matter. We would love to see you at all of them, but just depends on your schedule. All right. Well, I appreciate it. We aren't gonna, we always set aside 2 hours of time, just in case the presentations take that long. But if they don't, we also won't have you hang on here until 3 o'clock because everybody has things to do. Does anyone have any other questions for O'Neill or for James while they're on? And keep in mind, you have the opportunity to meet them in person on April 23rd and 24th at the Ohio Business Matchmaker at the Nutter Center in Dayton.
If I may,
Yep,
while people are thinking of any last minute questions, would you mind if I showcase the Matchmaker website real quick?
that's a
So
great idea.
um, give me 1 second to get this up here. But yeah, so as Joe was saying, we have plenty of webinars between now and the Matchmaker, which, as she said, is April 23rd, 24th. So, today wraps up our second webinar in this preparation series. So next week, we'll be back here at, 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We have 2 sessions next week, and we have 2 sessions every week. So next week is in the morning, we have federal government marketing strategies. So understanding how to conduct effective market research and developing those capability statements. So if you heard the session this morning, that is going to be really effective and crucial to ensuring you have a positive and more successful experience at the matchmaker, walking in there with effective research and a well-polished capability statement. And then in the afternoon, for those of you that want to learn more specifically about some of the agencies that may be at the matchmaker, we have doing business with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections, as well as the Department of Transportation here in Ohio. So we try to highlight some of the agencies that will be at the matchmaker so that you understand what they're buying ahead of time as well. So with that, we have the March 19th business certifications. Also, March 19th is doing business with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So there's plenty more webinars upcoming. I won't highlight all of them, but just to give you the look ahead for the next 2 weeks. And as Jill mentioned, if you go to the Matchmaker website, you can register for all of these webinars leading up to the Matchmaker. And you can also see, who the buyers are. So if you want to, understand if Matchmaker is right for you, take a look at the list of buyers who are going to be at the matchmaker. We try to keep this as updated and current as possible so you can see all of the federal buyers, state and local buyers, and prime contractors who will have a table at the matchmaker who are excited to talk to all of you. So thank you, Jill, for letting me talk about the matchmaker a little bit and some of the upcoming webinars, and I will turn it back over to you.
And the other thing is, you can, thank you, Joey. You can register to participate in the webinar trainings without paying for the registration fee for the matchmaker. So the registration fee for the matchmaker is $125 through, I think, the end of March. That's the early bird registration. And then at the beginning of April, it goes up to $175, and that's per person. If you wanted to have a booth at the matchmaker, you can do that. That includes a 6-foot table, 2 chairs. The booth would be set up in the arena where the buyers are, and that is $350. And that includes the we'll have like a networking reception the first night that includes hors d'oeuvres, and then breakfast and lunch at the matchmaker the next day. So uh, that's the fee for the matchmaker. But again, the webinars, you can attend those without paying the registration fee. And then you can also go back and view any of the webinar trainings that you missed. Again, give it about a week, and the recordings will appear on that webinar training list. Okay, thank you, Christopher, for giving the kudos to the matchmaker. I made good connections last year. I'll tell you what, like we've been doing this a long time, so it's almost like a family reunion to us when we're down there. So it's a fun but chaotic couple of days. You're going to take a lot of information with you. I'll tell you, the more webinar trainings you can attend ahead of time, it will really help to prepare you to meet with the buyers on the 24th, because you only have 10 minutes to meet with them, and they will match you at the level of knowledge you have. So if you go in and your first question is, hey, does the state buy services and goods? You're going to have a very, very basic conversation with them. But if you've had an opportunity based, like, for example, on this training of really understanding Ohio buys and finding solicitations like Christopher did, he found one. He's like, hey, I want to bid on this. And I've got specific information that I want to know about this bid or this, then that they can help you at that level too. So um, I do recommend that you attend the webinar trainings as you're able to. I'm always surprised, and I'm foot stomping this because I'm pretty surprised when it comes to Matchmaker Day, how many companies didn't take advantage of the webinars. So try. I know everybody's busy, but as you're able, please do attend them. If there are no further questions, we'll go ahead and conclude for today. But I hope to see you next week. Next Wednesday, we'll have our second and third webinars. So, all right. Thank you so much.